Hello! Welcome to Rural Community Assistance Corporation's virtual Start, Grow, Revive Your Business workshop series, Module 2. My name is Christina Brownlee, and I am a Rural Development Specialist with RCAC. Before we begin, we would like to take a moment to recognize our funder, the U.S. Department of Commerce Minority Business Development Agency, for their generous support. The virtual SGR workshop roadmap provides an overview of the concepts and tools we'll cover as part of the workshop series. We'll check in on the roadmap during each pre-recorded module and online interactive session so we can see where we are, how far we've come, and what's coming up next. In Module 1, we introduce strengths and challenges. Now, in Module 2, we'll introduce how needs are opportunities. In this module, we will identify and describe your customers, pinpoint the customer need your business solves, know what makes your business unique, and start to develop an advertising message. In this module, we'll start by introducing the Canvas tool. We'll explore the 3 sections of the Canvas tool: the need, the solution, and the connection. And finally, we'll review next steps.
It's important to remember that needs equal opportunities. Successful businesses offer a solution by providing a product or service customers do not have the knowledge, skill, time, ability, or desire to create themselves. For example, an auto repair shop provides services people do not have the knowledge, skill, or equipment to do on their own. A local grocery store may provide access to fresh fruits and vegetables that cannot be grown year-round in our region, breads and cakes a customer may not have the time or skill to bake themselves, or fresh beef and poultry a customer does not have the space or desire to raise and butcher on their own. It is important to make sure your business solves a need for your customers so you always have those customers and the business is sustainable in the long term. Where do good business ideas come from? Entrepreneurs identify a problem or need, they develop a solution, and then they go out and prove that their business concept works. The Opportunity Discovery Canvas, also known as the Canvas, is a tool designed to help entrepreneurs think critically about what problem they are trying to solve with their business idea. The Canvas is divided into 3 sections that guide the process. Section 1. What is the problem or customer need? Section 2. What is the solution you offer? In Section 3. How will you connect with customers or buyers who have the need? Throughout the rest of this module, we'll ask you to consider each section of the Canvas.
Now, let's dig a little deeper into the problem section of the Canvas. Most entrepreneurs decide to start a business because they've identified a product or service that they believe they can make money selling. Sometimes that can make it hard to think about your products or services as a solution to a customer's need. But making sure your products or service meets a customer's need will help you to always have customers, meaning that your business will be successful and sustainable long term. Let's take a look at the problem section of the Canvas and answer some of the questions in each box based on the idea of a coffee shop. The questions in box 1 will help you describe the problem or need you want to solve. When we start talking to entrepreneurs about identifying the need that their business solves, sometimes we hear something like, "We don't have a coffee shop and we need one." It's important to remember, though, that just because a business doesn't exist in a community, that doesn't mean that it's needed or that there's a demand for it or that it solves a problem for potential customers. If we wanted to identify the need that a coffee shop actually solves, it might help to take a step back and think about the main product a coffee shop provides. Coffee shops typically have trained employees who create lattes and cappuccinos using specialized equipment with lots of different options for syrup flavors and toppings. The underlying problem a coffee shop solves is that people want and are willing to pay for these types of drinks because they don't have the equipment or ingredients to make them at home. It's important to be careful though, because this statement includes assumptions that would be important to confirm. Maybe one of the reasons a coffee shop doesn't exist in the community is that people here are just as happy drinking black coffee that they can make themselves. Or maybe they'd rather buy a gas station cappuccino that costs half as much. It's important for every entrepreneur to identify the need that their business, startup, or expansion idea solves so that they can make sure that the people will be willing to pay for the product or service. When an entrepreneur decides to move forward without thinking about or even confirming the need for the product or service, it can spell disaster, especially if people in the community don't have the problem that the entrepreneur thought that they did, or if they aren't willing to pay for the product or service. Answering the questions in box 1 for your business can help you begin to think about the underlying customer need your business solves so you can make sure you always have the customers you need to make your business a success. The first question in box 2 asks you to describe the people that are most likely to have this need. You might say, well, that's easy. Everyone in town. Or maybe everyone in a 50-mile radius. That might seem like a simple answer, but it's really important to dig deeper, since that kind of statement includes an assumption you might not even realize you're making. In reality, there aren't many products whose customers include everyone. For a coffee shop, there probably are potential customers in town who will buy lattes multiple times a week. But it's also likely that there's people in town that just don't really care. We all know that grumpy person who'd rather lick the grounds at the bottom of a coffee pot than pay $3 for a cup of coffee with caramel syrup and whipped cream. A better or more accurate way to describe the people who need a coffee shop could be people who live in the community and want a high quality cup of coffee that they can't make themselves at home because they don't have the right equipment or supplies. Answering the questions in box 2 helps you begin to think about who your potential customers are, whether they have things in common like age, gender, or location, and whether there are enough of them to make your business successful and sustainable long term. The first question in box 3 asks you to describe other solutions that are currently available. If there isn't a coffee shop in town currently, where are people going to get lattes and cappuccinos? Do they drive to another town that already has a coffee shop multiple times a week? Do they settle for overly sweet powdered gas station cappuccino out of a machine? Or do they just decide to go without and drink coffee they make at home with a flavored coffee creamer, even though they'd rather have a latte? Answering questions in box 3 help you begin to think about how your potential customers are currently meeting the need for the products or services your business will offer. Now I'll hand it over to Nick to introduce the solution section of the Canvas.
The first question in box 4 asks, what is the single most important feature of your solution? If we're still thinking about a coffee shop, you might say something like having the highest quality ingredients. Be careful though, because again, this statement includes an assumption. Is having the highest quality ingredients really the most important thing? Or is having lots of different flavor options the most important thing? Or maybe having a drive-thru so customers don't have to get out of the car when it's 25 below. It's important to figure out what your potential customers care about most. You can always guess which feature is the most important. But what if you're wrong? What if you guess that the most important feature is having the highest quality ingredients, but the thing your customers care about most is having lots of different flavors or even lots of different sugar-free flavors? The last question in box 4 asks, how will you know if others are interested in your solution? This is a really important question. Starting or expanding a business can take a lot of time, effort, and money. In the coffee shop example, You might have to lease location, purchase the equipment, and buy inventory. It would be a shame to invest all that time and effort and money only to find out that potential customers are just as happy to brew their own coffee at home or aren't willing to pay for an expensive cup of coffee more than once or twice a month. Oftentimes, for right now at least, the best answer to this question is, I'll go out and talk to my customers. The first question in box 5 asks, how is your idea better than existing solutions? This question helps you think about how your products or services are better than the other solutions out there, including solutions offered by the competition. Maybe if there was another coffee shop in town already, the new coffee shop could offer better customer service, be open more convenient hours, or offer a larger range of size options. The first question in box 6 asks, will people be willing to pay for your solution? But there's another important question that should be added to this question. Will people be willing to pay for your solution, and if so, how much? It's not only important to know that potential customers will pay for a product or service, but how much they are willing to pay. For example, if your coffee shop needs to sell a 16-ounce cappuccino for $3.75 in order to have enough money for operations, but people are only willing to pay $3 because they can buy a gas station cappuccino for $2.25, that's important information to know. Completing the questions in the solution section of the Canvas can help you begin to think about how your product or service is better than the alternatives and how you can make sure potential customers buy from you rather than the competition. Now I'm going to hand it over to Chris to talk about the connection.
Thanks, Nick. The final section of the Canvas, the connection, looks at how you will connect with customers. The second question in box 7 asks, what methods of communication will you use to reach potential customers? Another way to think about this question is, what advertising will you use to reach potential customers? This question is important because you have to understand the best way to connect with potential customers. You don't need to spend time and effort in developing newspaper ads if your potential customers aren't reading the newspaper. You have to advertise in a way that will reach them. Still thinking about a coffee shop? How could the owner advertise their new shop so potential customers know about it, especially if it's not located in a place people pass every day? Maybe they could create a Facebook page and post about their opening in local Facebook groups. Maybe they could have a grand opening celebration with balloons, bouncy houses, and giveaways and ask the local radio station to do live segments from the coffee shop. If the shop isn't on the main street, maybe the owner could rent part of a billboard near the coffee shop with an arrow and their address. The third question in box 7 asks, what message do you intend to convey? Really, this question is asking, what will your advertising tell people? Advertising helps convince people to buy your products or services, so it's good to think back to the solutions section of the Canvas and the question that asked, what is the single most important feature of your solution? If your potential customers care most about having lots of syrup flavors, but you advertise your high-quality ingredients, your advertising might not be as effective as you'd hoped. The questions in box 8 ask, how will potential customers purchase your solution? In the coffee shop example, coming up with answers to the questions in box 8 is probably pretty easy because most coffee shops sell directly to the customer. But what if the coffee shop decided to expand and create its own line of coffee that people could brew themselves at home? Maybe they could sell it directly to customers at the coffee shop, but they might also want to try to get it into the local grocery store that would then sell the packaged beans to their customers who would take them home and make coffee there. Answering the questions in box 8 can help you begin to think about whether you'll sell your products directly to your customers, whether you'll sell your products to a store that then sells them to the customer, or whether you'll offer some combination of the two. The first question in box 9 asks, how will your customers know they can rely on you? It is important for potential customers to know they can depend on you and know they'll receive a consistent product or service. Have you ever dealt with a business that doesn't have consistent hours? You might drive by once or twice to see if it's open, but if you drive by a third or fourth time and see it's still closed, you'll be more likely to go somewhere else that has more consistent hours. Or have you ever been to a coffee shop and had your drink taste different each time, even though you ordered the same thing? The questions in box 9 will help you begin to think about how you can make sure your potential customers will buy your products or services. Completing the connections section of the Canvas helps you begin to think about the distribution and advertising necessary to get your product or service into the hands of people that will pay for it. For your next steps, please fill out the Canvas for your business startup or expansion idea. You'll find handouts for the 3 sections of the Canvas: the problem or the need, the solution, and the connection in your workbook behind the Module 2 PowerPoint.
We would like you to take a few moments to reflect on everything we've covered today. Think about how answering the questions in the Canvas can help you with the following: describing your customers, pinpointing your customer's need, knowing what makes your business different, and developing advertising. Also, think about how you can confirm your answers to the Canvas questions.
Just a reminder that if you need any help identifying the problem or developing the solution or the concept for your business idea throughout the Start, Grow, Revive Your Business workshop series, feel free to contact us. If you're participating in this workshop on Fort Belknap or Rocky Boy, feel free to contact me, Nick Dorr, with Opportunity Link. If you're joining us from Northern Cheyenne, feel free to contact Madison Wilhite with the Native American Development Corporation. Our contact information can be found on the slide, as well as the front of your workbooks.
Thank you for participating in Module 2 of the virtual Start, Grow, Revive Your Business workshop series. Please be sure to join us for online interactive session 2. We look forward to seeing you then. As a closing thought, do not give up. The beginning is always the hardest.